Celebrities, whether they act, sing, play sports, or even just enjoy the limelight as politicians, seem to get away with a lot more than the average person does. Or maybe that's just our perception, because the things celebrities do are under scrutiny so much. But there has long been a history of well-known men taking an interest in remarkably young women, which is to say, children. But there has long been a history of well-known men taking an interest in remarkably young women. Number 10. Pablo Escobar met his wife when she was 12 and cheated with many underage girls. Pablo Escobar achieved fame by being one of the most notorious drug dealers in the world. He was also one of the wealthiest criminals in history, with an estimated fortune of at least $25 billion. He was a drug lord, he reportedly killed around 4,000 people, and he also met his wife Maria Victoria Henao when she was 12. He was 23. The two got married in 1976 when Henao was only 15. She said she fell in love with his great desire to help people and his compassion, if that gives you any idea how he was able to pretend to be something that he wasn't. And even as his true colors must have come to light, she stayed with him until 1993 when he was killed despite claiming to hate everything he'd become. Escobar cheated on Henao frequently as well, also with underage girls, as he clearly had a preference. The show Narcos was criticized for unjustly romanticizing him and making him look almost heroic by ignoring details like this and many others. Number 9. Grover Cleveland met his wife as a baby. Grover Cleveland has a few claims to fame, one of them being that he's the only president in American history to serve 2 non-consecutive terms. In the modern era of social media, that may not have happened, since more people might have known that he met his wife when she was a baby and then took over a semi-parental role for her after her parents died. Cleveland married Frances Folsom when she was 21 and he was 48. Folsom's father, a good friend of Cleveland's, died when she was 11. She used to call him Uncle Cleve. Some sources state that Cleveland then became her legal guardian at this point, while others say that's not true. What does seem to be true is that if not legal, he was certainly a strong influence in her life. Frances's mother, the widow of Cleveland's friend, expected that the future president would ask her to be his wife since he had taken over a provider role for both mother and daughter. The press thought this as well and asked Cleveland why he hadn't married. His answer was, "I'm waiting for my bride to grow up." Number 8. Rolling Stones bassist Bill Wyman slept with his wife when she was 14. If you're not familiar with the name Bill Wyman, he was the bass player for the Rolling Stones. As with many musicians, he clearly had a pretty wild and crazy life. But Wyman's story goes into levels of weirdness you might expect on a soap opera, and also includes the fact that he started sleeping with his wife when she was 14. Wyman was 47 when he first saw his future wife. She was 13, and he said that he felt like he was hit on the head with a hammer. They got married when she was 18 and Bill was 52. His wife, Mandy Smith, long held on to the lie that they never had a sexual relationship until she was of age, but then later backtracked and admitted it started when she was 14. The two got divorced when she was 20. In what qualifies as a hugely unpredictable twist to the story, Wyman's son from another relationship would go on to marry the mother of Mandy Smith, who was, at least for a time, his own step-grandmother. Number 7. Steven Tyler got guardianship of a 16-year-old girl and impregnated her. To this day, Aerosmith frontman Steven Tyler is one of the biggest names and most iconic voices in all of rock and roll. The band rose to fame in the 1970s and had a string of huge hits in the 90s as well. All of this fame and notoriety has been saddled with the rumors of Tyler's behavior back in the 70s as it related to a girl named Julia Holcomb. Tyler was a rock star, a drug user at the time, and a man in his late 20s. He met Holcomb when she was 16 and became enamored with her. He managed to convince Holcomb's mother to sign over legal guardianship so that he could cross state lines with the girl. Holcomb's mother had gone through some hard times herself, but Tyler evidently told the woman he needed the paperwork to help her daughter enroll in school. She didn't even learn this from her own mum. It was Tyler who told her. Within a few months, she was pregnant with his child. She claims he later coerced her into having an abortion. Tyler has acknowledged that the relationship and the abortion all happened as well. Number 6. Anthony Kiedis of the Red Hot Chili Peppers admitted to having sex with a 14-year-old. The Red Hot Chili Peppers have made a career out of singing about California, and in one way or another, but less well known, is that singer Anthony Kiedis knowingly and admittedly slept with a teenage fan in Louisiana when he was 23 years old. He says they had sex only minutes after meeting and spent the night together. The following day, the band was set to play Baton Rouge, so they took the girl along. Kiedis said that along the way, she told him her dad was the chief of police in Baton Rouge and the whole state was looking for her since she had been gone all night. Also, she was only 14. In response to this news, Kiedis said he wanted her to get home, but then he also admits he had sex with her one more time after acknowledging he was aware of her age. He went on to write a school called Catholic Schoolgirls Rule, inspired by this event. Number 5. Led Zeppelin's Jimmy Page had a relationship with a 14-year-old. If you're keeping track, this is the third story about a musician from a hugely popular band with a 14-year-old girl. This time, Led Zeppelin's Jimmy Page is involved, and the girl was Laurie Maddox, who we'll see again shortly. Maddox was a model, and Page had seen her photos before meeting her in Los Angeles. He tried to pick her up several times. Once he followed her into the bathroom at a club and began kissing and groping her in front of everyone in the room as she tried to get him to stop. She said her friends warned her that he would be violent. At some point, Page had the band's manager kidnap her and bring her back to Page's hotel. They had dinner together and then slept together, keeping the relationship secret for a time thereafter, perhaps not so much because of her age, but because he was also in another relationship at the time. That ended when he went to a party with his real girlfriend, but left publicly with Laurie. Number 4. Ted Nugent admitted to dating many underage girls. Ted Nugent is best known these days for getting involved in politics and even occasional punditry, but he achieved fame for being a musician in the 70s. It's also long been rumored that he's had a number of encounters with underage girls. Nugent himself has admitted to a lot of his own behavior at one time or another. The man actually sang a song called Jailbait. In a Behind the Music episode on VH1, it's claimed that he started a relationship with a 17-year-old girl and got her parents to sign over guardianship, though that particular claim has not been verified anywhere else. In his own words, he got her parents' stamp of approval, whatever that means. Nugent used the word addicted to describe his feelings about girls back in the 70s, and then explains that the parents were on board because better Ted Nugent than some drug-infested punk in high school. Number 3. David Bowie also had a relationship with 14-year-old Laurie Maddox. Remember Laurie Maddox, also known as Laurie Maddox? She was the girl that Jimmy Page was involved with. Well, before she met Page, she met David Bowie. He had a relationship with her when she was 14. He would have been somewhere in his 20s at the time. People loved David Bowie, and his legacy is one of a brilliant musician who walked his own path, so few people are willing to bring up the fact that he also engaged in such things. According to Maddox, he wanted to take her back to his hotel the moment he met her, but she refused. However, he came back to town 5 months later, and that time she did not. They went to dinner, then back to his hotel room with one of Maddox's friends. She said Bowie asked her to bathe him in the tub, and the two later had sex. Later, they had a threesome with her friend. Number 2. Prince was the guardian of his future wife when she was 17. Prince died in 2016, but to this day, he remains a beloved and influential musician whose style, voice, and oddly quirky behavior made him an icon for decades. Less well known about the purple one was that he had once been married to a woman named Mate Garcia. Prince met her in 1989 and proclaimed that she was his future wife. She was 16 at the time, and Prince was 31. This was after his relationship with 17-year-old Ana Garcia. Garcia was a dancer, and her parents wanted her to work with Prince, so she auditioned. Clearly, he was impressed, and the song The Most Beautiful Girl in the World was written about her. Garcia says they became friends, and he would call her and write to her frequently. She was never allowed to call him. She started singing for him at the age of 17, and he became her legal guardian at that time. She made $300 a week and had to sneak food from room service carts in hotel hallways. By the time she was 18, he promised she'd be dancing on his tour. She says he saw some cookies on her station once, and even though they weren't hers, he docked her pay for it because she needed to maintain her figure. He once sent her home for showing up in sweatpants. When the tour was over, Prince told her it was time to get on birth control. She was 19 by that time, and she lost her virginity to him. The couple later had a child, but in 1996 he passed away. She claims Prince avoided her and refused to come to see her in the hospital after she developed an infection. She became depressed and later had a miscarriage. She says Prince told her that he had to work. He then met a fan online, invited her to come to work with him, and would later make her his second wife. After they divorced, Garcia learned he burned everything that reminded him of her from their home, even got rid of their son's ashes. Number 1. Larry Hillblom of DHL Shipping fathered many children with underage girls in Asia. Larry Hillblom may not be a household name, but he was definitely a prominent figure in the business world. If you've heard of DHL Shipping, then you know Hillblom. He was the H in the company name. Thanks to his business, he was a millionaire, but the man also had a penchant for travel and would frequently go to Asia. What no one realized for some reason was that Hillblom was going on sex vacations, where he fathered at least 4 children in Palau, Vietnam, and the Philippines. Hillblom had traveled extensively and paid for sex with underage girls. Paternity tests confirmed him as the father of several children after he died in a plane crash, forcing his estate to provide millions of dollars for the children after initially resisting the accusations.